63, we left off just after the third step prayer. Towards the end, it would be the second to the last paragraph. We found it very desirable.
Yes. You want me to read it?
Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
All right. So, well, welcome everyone. Nice to see you all. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person. So obviously we've just made the decision to turn our will and life over to the care of something greater than self. So we found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person, such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with one who might misunderstand. The wording was, of course, quite optional, so long as we express the idea, voicing it without reservation. This was only a beginning, though. If honestly and humbly made, an effect, sometimes a very great one, was felt at once. We're just going to keep reading. Next, we launched out on a course of rigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning. So the fourth step is the first step of the working steps, yes? So 1, 2, 3 is sort of like the attitude adjustment. Then 4 through 9 are the working steps. So we're going to enter the fourth step. Many of us have read all this. So next we launched out on a course of rigorous action, the first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Though our decision was a vital and crucial step, it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. So the thing in ourselves and ourselves are different, right? So there's things in ourself that isn't ourself. You can see it this way. So there are things in ourselves which have been blocking us. Our liquor was but a symptom, so we had to get down to causes and conditions. So what are the causes and conditions? We're going to look at it in step 4. Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about stock and trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. And this is obviously talking about a 4th column inventory. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Now, the flaws in our makeup may not be ours, yes? This is the whole distinction that makes a huge difference. So the flaws in our makeup may not be our flaws. Something may be expressing itself through us that's not us. Disease, parasite, however you want to picture it. This is how I read the book now. I see that maybe they didn't know, but there's a mentioning, either hidden in the statement or obvious, that there's what has defeated us is not us. That's the most important point, yeah? Because if it's what has defeated you is us, and you're going to be us the rest of your life, then you're apt to be defeated. Yeah, just that simple. But if something could be removed from you, you're not going to be the remover of it, but you're going to be the one that has it removed. Something's going to remove it from you by following these simple steps. Yeah, and that is the relief of the bondage of self. So self is is like a compilation of these manifestations that have appeared through us that we share as alcoholics and addicts. And these manifestations have not been ours. Yeah. And this is the dilemma because most of us believe they're ours. And therefore, the defeat of self continues. Yeah. So he says here, we did exactly the same thing with our lives. So they understood to try to take a little personalness out of it, they present it as a business inventory. Yeah. So, and the difference between if you were doing a business inventory, there would be a big difference if you thought you were the store manager than the store owner. Yes. It's a pretty good attitude because if you're the owner of the store, you're going to be blind to a lot of mistakes. Yeah, like buying those 500 pair of elephant bells that haven't moved since 1974. And someone who's just managing a store can be fearless and thorough about the inventory because it's not their store. And this is the way we look at our life, really. We have turned our will and life over to the care of something else. So we've signed off as the manager and the owner of this life. We've given it over to the care of something greater than ourselves. And now we're going to look at us as a business in a sense, and we're going to do an inventory. Yeah. Without the onus of the ownership, you may be able to see it fearlessly and do a thorough one. Yeah. So they present it as such. Yeah. Do a business inventory. So what are the unsaleable goods? Most of them are not of you, which is great news. Yeah. Yeah. So we did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Okay, what's that? The three common ones are resentment, fear, the selfishness that would allow you to completely, constantly harm other people in the pursuit of what you want because you don't give a shit. You don't care about anyone else. Yes? These are manifestations or flaws, FLAW, in our life that I don't believe are yours. Yeah, I believe they are of the disease or the parasite of alcoholism and addiction. Yes? Yes. And really the greatest, the root of the addiction of drinking and using and all this stuff is really the obsession with self. So that to me is the original addiction. And you're at the effect of it. You're not really involved with it. It's the head is completely addicted to this idea of being you. Yeah. And you get you just take the wax constantly. So it's very clear what it says. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. Are you convinced of that? You've done this inventory. So we did the inventory. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. Hopefully, from doing that, being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Yeah. Resentment is the number one offender. So resentment is a common manifestation of self in our life. Yeah. It's a common flaw, FLAW, that appears in the alcoholic or the addict's life. Resentment plays a big role. We're looking at resentment. It doesn't call them yours. Why are you calling them yours? When you talk either nonchalantly or solemnly or sincerely about resentments, you usually preface them as yours, my resentments. That's a mistake if you read the book. It doesn't say they're yours. There could be a flaw in your makeup, but the makeup isn't the flaw. Yeah. The flaw is an outside thing that's been inserted by an obsession with self that's led to us to seek a solution, and we found it in the bottle or the drug or the piece of cake or the sex or whatever. Yeah. Yes. So being convinced that self, small s, not large s, manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We were driven by 100 forms of whatever. Yeah, same. So the three common manifestations we look at in our inventory is resentment, fear, and harms done to others in the pursuit of what we want. And we look at our sexual behavior. Yeah, there's a simple formula. It's a 4-column inventory. You just take the resentment through the 4 columns and see your role in things. Take the fear through the 4 columns, see your role in things. Take the harming done to others in the pursuit of what you want through the sexual relationship lens, and then see your role in things. Yeah. With the hopes that when you see your role in things, you'll see self's role in things. And you will finally become clear that what's yours and what's not yours. Yeah. And you'll stop calling resentments yours, fears yours, and harms done to other yours. And you'll see, wow, I don't seem as to have as many resentments as I used to. I feel like I've been freed from that constant anxiety. Exactly. The ownership of it had it owning you. Don't you see? Yeah. You believe you have a thought, and then the thought has the ability to own you. You have to see there's a difference between a thought and your thought. Your thought seems to have a lot more power than just a thought. Yeah? Why is that? I would be interested in checking that out. Does a thought that ruins someone else's day ruin your day? Probably not. But that same thought held as yours could probably ruin your day. Yeah. So it's not the thought. The thought is used. It's the vehicle. What's defeating us is an ownership, and therefore it's a blanket ownership. So no matter what happens to us, or no matter what we're driven to do, or no matter what we're moved to do, we are without a doubt the doer of it. It's a bogus, it's a big mistake. Yeah. You're driven. Driven takes away the idea that you're the driver. This is not a self-driving car. It's actually a self-driving car. So these ideas in the auto business, we've lived that completely. We have been driven by self for so long. We could be called a self-driven car. And that's why we need a lot of supervision. They're believing the self-driving car needs human supervision. We need supervision of the self-driving car. So we decide to turn our will and life over to something greater than that self, so that we can get some clear, honest supervision. So, yeah, supervision in one way, yeah, supervision in another way. So now we are given the eyes to see where we were blind. Yeah, so knock it off when you're sharing about resentment. Stop throwing my in there. Oh, my resentment, your resentment. Who has the bigger resentment? It's like catching fish. Look at this is a whopper, my resentment, full of justified fucking piousness. Look at the size of it. Yeah. And then you're going to have to carry that fish around with you. Yeah. When it seems to swim in you, let it swim out. Yes. Yeah. Don't call it yours, because then, yeah, whatever. So I think this is very clear. Being convinced means to believe with certainty. Do you? Do you believe with certainty that self has defeated you? Or do you believe with certainty that you have defeated you? They're completely different. Yeah? Do you think the drink and the drugs defeated you, or the manifestations of self defeated you? The resentment that made every drink you take have like a nasty flavor at the end. Yes? The grievances that cooked up at the bar stool or wherever. Yes, all this shit constantly, constantly, constantly. Yeah. So resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. So now we're looking at resentment as a manifestation of self in one's life. Completely different than looking at yours. Completely different. You're going to get a different result through the same inventory process, a much different result. You're going to be brought much quicker to seeing self's role in things. Yeah. And there, see, this is the dilemma. Why they present it as a business inventory, yeah, is to see that you're not the owner of the business now because you've turned the lease over, the contract over to a higher power. That's why the third step is before the fourth step. Doesn't come after the fourth step, it's before the fourth step. We make a decision and we're asking for a new employer or whatever, a new supervisor. Yeah. And then we do this thing to check out the old supervisor and see how self has defeated us. Yeah. By looking at its common manifestations. Its common manifestations, not your common manifestations. Its. So, first things first, let's not jump into an inventory of my resentments, just an inventory of a manifestation of selves called resentment. Yeah. And now go ahead, write it out. And I bet you'll do a much more thorough, fearless inventory when it's not about you than you do. And it says, and our promises, you will not regret the past nor shut the door on it. How is that going to come about if you think you did it? If you think you did it in your logic, you regret it. You regret it. Maybe not because of the moral, but that it didn't work. You're bummed out that you didn't get your way. There's tons of freaking regret. And you don't shut the door on it because there's a big fucking foot of self keeping that door open so it can just hang you at any moment about something that happened 30 years ago. It's insane. Where is most of your anxiety resting? In the past and future, isn't it? Is there a gun? Matthew, there's a guy behind you with a gun. No, there isn't a guy behind him with a gun. He's sitting in the Zoom, nice and comfortable, looking at the thing. Yeah. The head is like that guy behind you with a gun. It's just talking and talking. And it's our belief and faith in it that allows it to produce these effects. We're feeling fear when there's no apparent threat. It's mental anxiety. Yeah. We ask it to play our tune in this life, and it strums that instrument of fear constantly. Yeah. What are you going to do when you're at a meeting on June 2nd and someone's completely flipped out about August 15th? What are you going to do? Stop the meeting and everyone think about August 15th? No. Just try to point out it's June 2nd. That's the best you can do. Yeah. And no one else is flipping out. And the only person that's obsessing over August 15th is flipping out. And you just look at them and, hey, check it out. But you don't understand. Yes, we do. We've all had our August 15th. We've all had where a future concern dominated our present condition. We know what that tyranny is like, and it's time to have it broken. Yes. It's enough to deal with the day. You want to add on years of past and years of future? All you can do in that situation is admit you're outmatched. And now you've opened up, you're not opened up, a portal has opened up, and that higher power can come into your life. And even though the head keeps presenting the same old shit, its effects are getting minimized. Yeah? You're not following it anymore. You've lost interest in it. Yeah? And the whole program pivots on losing interest in self. That's what it is. Page 63, whatever it was. Yeah. Yeah, here. Oh, yeah. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves. We are now established on that footing of reliance on something greater than self. And what is continually happening is we are becoming less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. Yeah? We are less and less interested in the head's interpretation of yesterday and tomorrow, and we let life tell us how life is. Yeah? Perhaps this is the better way. Yeah. What is it based on? Trusting the infinite, get this, rather than trusting finite self. So trust is in both movements. It's what what movement trust is in is going to produce the effects. We know what it's like to live life trusting finite self. We were in a spiritless civility. Yeah. And many of us know what it's like to be trusting the infinite. Jeez. It is so obvious. It doesn't even have to be mentioned. Yeah. It's trust no matter what, but it's what it's put in is going to produce the effects. And if you keep calling self manifestations yours, it's almost like a dog whistle. It's going to keep bringing those manifestations up. Yeah. And you're going to be like an incubator for a resentment that you call yours, and it's going to fester and grow and produce a deep-rooted grievance. And there you have it. Yes. Have you seen a live, wild resentment last that long? No. But when you call it yours, you can give it life for 50 years. Yeah. I just went to a funeral for my older sister. Thank God most people were behaving because they all had resentments. They, they all could have just gone off the resentments. I'm sure they started when they started drinking at the bar. Yeah. And there you have it. And there would have been a little funeral fire, roasting the poor person who just passed away. Yes. They're just potentially hovering there. Yeah. And in many of our lives, that has been suspended. Yes. It's still potentially there, but it's suspended. And we're living a day at a time free from that bondage of self. Yeah. Because the basis of our life has been changed. Instead of trusting finite self, we're on a new basis, which is trusting the infinite. How does it look for many of us? Following the suggestions in the way of life of recovery. That's how it looks. Yeah. Of course, it can have beautiful flares of artistic expression, but basically, we're just following the same methodology that they first put out in the Big Book of AA. Yeah. It's produced the effect that it had produced in them, and it will produce the same effect with people that come later, because it's not the people, it's what has the person that gets affected. Yes? It isolates. This isn't like the cancer stuff where they kill everything. You have chemo, it just kills everything in the body. This is a very, very selective operation. Yeah, it is. Most of the rest of you is going to thrive when this little radioactive isotope is removed, that craving and desire to get loaded all the time. The rest of the system is going to thrive under that solution, where other solutions seem to kill you almost. Yeah. Yeah. So selfishness, I'm going back to 62, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. This is the description: driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. That's the basic condition of being under the bondage of self. The fact is, you're going to be driven no matter what, but now you're driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. Insane. 4 of those descriptions has the word self in it. You don't get it? Is self-delusion your delusion? No. Is self-seeking your seeking? No. Is self-pity your pity? No. These things have, as Kurt would say, these are imposed upon us. Yeah. Something has taken us over, is using us, and we're in a dilemma of powerlessness. We would like to stop, we would like to get out, but we seemingly can't. Yeah. We have been handcuffed and neutralized. You would think the host could leave the parasite. You could, but not if the host is convinced it's the parasite. Its leaving always takes the parasite with it. Yeah. This is the great statement of self can't get out of self. We're all driven to get out of something, but we try to get out of it as the something we want to get out of. Yeah. This breaks it, this simple understanding that what has defeated you is not of you. Yes. So you don't end up at that one of the Jesus. When I see people that say they hate themselves, it just blows my mind. This misunderstanding has gone so far, you believe you hate yourself. You are your own worst enemy. That's completely unacceptable. Seriously, yeah. Oh, so this is the point. This is the whole point of the Zoom is this page 64, third paragraph. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways is what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Yes, so from it stem all forms of spiritual disease. Wow. Wow. Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. I don't believe you can be spiritually sick. I believe you can be mentally and emotionally sick, but I don't think spirituality has a body that can get sick. Yeah. When I go to the pharmacy, there's not like a an allergy pill for the spirit. Yes, I don't think it's not sneezing like I am today. So when the spiritual malady is overcome, could you imagine that you have already overcome that malady? You are spirit. So it's already a fact. It's just that we have such faith in the thoughts that say we don't think so, to the point we have to try to become spiritual, which is totally insane. if you are spirit. It's totally insane to try to mimic what your head thinks spirituality would be as a body. It's not straight hair, blue eyes, monotone, loving gaze. That's just nothing. That's just mimicking something you have no idea about. Yeah. What happens? Do you believe you're really just and only just a physical, emotional, mental thing? Or do you believe there's some kind of essence that doesn't corrode or erode or drop off, come, go, come, all this stuff? Wait a minute. Yeah. I humbly feel that that unsuspected resource in us is our own nature. Yeah. And I humbly believe our nature is of a spiritual orientation than a physical mental. Now, I don't know what a spirit would be like, but I know what it's like physical and mental. Yeah. So I figure one of the best ways to see it is that I'm not physical and mental. I don't know what I am, but I do believe what I'm not. Yeah. And so if I put the spiritual first, then the highest form of maintenance I would have achieved, which is being spirit. Yeah. I believe it's difficult to try to maintain a spiritual condition as a mental, physical one. I do. I think it opens up a lot of crazy ideas coming in. But I do believe if you lose interest in self, you're going to recognize that you may be of a different nature than you thought. Yeah, you may be, as St. Francis says, you may be what you've been looking for. Yeah. So that's my feeling. So the idea of a spiritual sickness or malady, I don't believe spirit gets sick or has a malady. I believe it's a mental, emotional malady. Yeah. Which is really what is it? Like it says in the abject faith in what has defeated us, it's a spiritless servility. So when we're living completely as the mental and physical, we're having absolutely seemingly we've shut the door on being influenced by our own nature, which is spirit. Yeah. Isn't that insane? So, yeah. So we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Yeah. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. So if you ever been introduced to Joe and Charlie, and if you haven't, check them out. They used to put out a lot of printouts for a 4-column inventory that I felt worked really well. So you can just print some of them out and start your resentment inventory. Just follow these instructions and get it on paper. Please do it on paper with a pen and see what starts to happen. Yeah. And when you check out the resentment, see the habit of it calling it, see the habit that you're under, which is calling it yours. Yeah. And maybe put a new understanding between the resentment and yours. Yes. Yeah. And I'll tell you, for me, uh, the difference between my resentment is unbelievable. So, and of course, when anxiety is called yours, you call it fear, but it isn't fear. It's mental anxiety. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll stop. Let me just finish this then. In dealing with resentment, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, in most cases, that our self-esteem There's the word self once again, the first fucking word you run into. Our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, owning it, every one of them, yes? Our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships. I think in the inventory, the third step, the spirit of that is you're going to turn over your relationships, your ambitions, your pocketbooks, your esteem, don't you think? Isn't that the point? We're going to turn over all these things over to take care of something greater than self because it's going to do a better job than the old employer. Yeah. We were hurt or threatened, so we were sore, we were burned up. Yeah, we didn't get our way. So on our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries, each opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions? So it's could you look at it this way, really? Could you look at it, was it esteem, security, ambitions, or was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions? Don't you think it changes a lot? If you see security as security, not yours, I bet you're going to have a much clearer view about what security means, yes? But when you look at it as your security, it distorts the whole thing, yes? I've known people at AA meetings, they were expressing a huge amount of anxiety and fear concerning their fourth house they were buying. Yeah. And in the subjective experience, it was as if they didn't have a place to go. If they didn't get this house, they would be on the streets. But they had 3 other houses. But the anxiety level was as if they were walking around the street trying to find a place to sleep for the night. Yeah. So this is a subjective experience. You do not need a threat to be fearful. We understand that, don't we? The head does not need an apparent threat to induce fear. It can do it through thought, yeah, which it's doing through thought. And how is it doing it? It's usually seen as your thought, your esteem, your security. Yes, it's super clear. If you would look at the grudge, it would be different if you looked at it, was it esteem, security, ambitions, personal, sex? No, but was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sex relationships? Isn't it different? Remember where it says you're going to lose interest self and then and in your little plans and designs, when were your plans and designs little? When they were called yours? When? When the plans and designs were called yours, they were given a bigness. This is a disease of perception. They were given a bigness. And then they troll us in the book and they said, you're going to lose interest in your little plans and your little designs. This is a difference between esteem or my esteem, security, my security, ambitions, my ambitions, personal, me, sex relations, my sex relations. Completely different, yes? What I humbly believe, how we get adjusted in this program, we see things as security, not my security. Yes? We see things as a resentment, not my resentment. Yeah. My plans are not the only plans. Other people have their plans. Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, their plans are better than my plans. How can I see that when maybe I just see them as plans? Yeah. because pride will come in, and there's no way your plan is better than my plan. And to prove myself right, I'm just going to screw with you. Yeah. What's his name has to work hard today. Someone's showing an ass on one of the things. All right. So, yeah, let's open it up. I think we'll stop there because then it goes into the inventory, the 3 columns. And then there's a question after the 3 columns, which is the 4th column. Yeah. So if when you only see 3 columns written, there's an answer to them or a question, which is the 4th column, which they don't write, which is what or is your role in things. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
I see one hand. Drew has his hand up. Can we unmute Drew?
Hey Paul, thanks for the meeting. Yeah, actually I was holding on to this question and then you brought it up and opened the floor. So I actually did want to ask about the 4th column and sort of your take on doing that with this knowledge that it's not our role in things, it's its role in things, it's self's role in things. Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of the literature on the 4th column, at least for me, I've found it a bit unclear, beyond just putting things down as like, okay, this is self-seeking, this is dishonesty, this is selfishness, so on and so forth. Um, yeah, I'm just curious to hear, like your interpretation of the 4th column.
Well, yeah. So we'll go right here. Goes like first it goes referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrong others had done. We resolutely looked for our own mistakes. I would cut out the our own mistakes and mistakes I would look at. Yeah. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? And where you have been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened, that's an indication of self in your life. Yes. That's how I would read it. So, though a situation not been entirely our fault, we try to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. I would say when we saw faults, we listed them, but we placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight. Yes, this is how, when we're coming into recovery, this is how we see it. We first have to own it. Yeah. So we do the 4th column and we see our role in things. We block out everyone else's role in things. Yeah. And that's the direction or the instruction of the beginning of the 4th step. Now, this program has been around for 70 something years now. And I believe it's time that they're seeing a 4th wave of recovery, which is the accountability of what is seen as your role in things, because you're going to see something else's role in things. Let's call it self. Yeah. And now that you've owned and made all your amends and shit like that, let's go back to that list and look at what we called our behavior was really self-driven behavior. Yes. And finally, we tell this the second truth about it. Yes, I did it and I did not do it. Yeah. But first, most people it would be best to own whatever you need to see, because we have a desire not to own it, or the disease wants to deny it and shit. So we own it all, let it land, and then we question it a little farther and we see self's role in things. And then there will be a shift. You've done all your amends, you played the game, made amends, you're living amends, and now you have an attitude, but you weren't the doer of any of it. You were driven to do it. Yes. Yeah. That's how I look at it. I don't advise people to do it that way until they come here. Yeah. Not going to meetings and trying to change anyone's idea. But you come here willingly, and so we put it out there. This is not a way to bypass being responsible for shit. You own it, and then in that owning it, you recognize it's not yours. Yeah? You don't try to understand in a surface level it's not yours, trying to get out of something. Yes? You will see your head would love to do that, but it doesn't work. So, yes. Yeah. So when you see your rolling things, you'll see self rolling things. Hopefully, if you have an understanding that self is what has defeated you, being convinced of that, and it has defeated us through its manifestations. Yeah. And how they keep defeating us is we're calling them ours. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I see it. This isn't a way of changing the direction of the fourth step. It's adding to it. That's all. Yeah. And as it says in our book, in A Vision for Us, this power is constantly going to reveal stuff to us. Yeah. And people who come after, they were talking about themselves, are going to add on to this. So here we are adding on to it. Yeah. Hopefully, a clearer recognition of the exact nature of the wrong so that we can be unburdened by the past and not shut the door on it. Because what we did, most of what we did while under the influence, we didn't actually do. We were driven to do. And if you think that's weird, look at how many people seem to have been driven the same way you've been driven and ended up in the same three parking spaces like in Narcotics Anonymous, institution, jails, and death. Isn't that a weird phenomenon? That all of us unique, separate characters end up at the same three parking spaces? I would imagine we're under a delusion that we're driving, but we've been driven by the same driver. Yeah. Like Diona was driven by the same driver. Michael was driven by the same driver. Dave, Matthew, Paul, Catherine, Kathleen, we've all been driven by the same driver. That's why we have an intimacy about it, because the tyranny isn't unique. It's imposed upon us. We did not come up with our own tyranny. A tyranny has been imposed upon us. Let's say like a parasitical activity neutering the power of the host by convincing the host that it's the parasite. That's how I see it, literally. Yeah. I've seen it this way a long time. I've been open to see it differently. Nothing's taken its place. So basically, really, I would have said I would do every one of these talks with but and then expecting no, I haven't seen a but. Nothing else has shown up for 30 years or something. Yeah. I haven't been out to lunch. I've been awake. Things probably would have told me. Yeah. Yeah. I would
Well,
love it. I would love to go down 800 different rabbit holes. Yeah. But if you go down 800 different rabbit holes and you run into the same rabbit, let's just concentrate on the rabbit, not the hole. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I see it.
I find like with resentments and stuff, like this is much more clear to me. Like I see the patterns of selfing and stuff, and I find I don't have a problem, taking accountability there and then also recognizing that it's these patterns at play ultimately. But when it comes to stuff like patterns of selfing, I mean, but when it comes to fear, um, yeah, I have a hard time. Oh, I turn my video on. Yeah, I have a hard time with fear. I don't really know how to. Could I let me make a concrete example. Let's say it's something I'm going through right now is, I'm applying for jobs and um I need to figure out something soon. So there's definitely a lot of fear there of like, well, what if this doesn't work out? And it was funny that you mentioned August 15th earlier in the meeting because I was literally thinking before the meeting, oh, I gotta get a job by August. Um, is it is it a fair characterization to say that fear is based on identifying as this entity that, is subject to things going wrong if a job doesn't work out?
Of course. It's just look on again, go to the book and it talks about fear. Why, and it asks us a question. Why are you in so much fear today? Yeah, doesn't let us answer. Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? There's the diagnosis.
But that doesn't take away this like let me say it like it doesn't mean I don't have to go and find a job, like that imperative
No,
is
it
still there.
doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. No. You'll have to find out what it means. What it means is you're taking the burden of being in the outcome business and you're turning it over to the care of a higher power. This is the spirit of recovery. Yeah. So, and you, as an action figure, you need security. Yeah. As an action figure, you're not managing that well. Yeah. Admit that and turn your future or present tense security over to the care of something greater than you. Yeah. Make a statement that you're outmatched. Yeah. And then suit up and show up and let go of the results. Simple as that. And when that thing gets that fear, if you feel you have some, just turn it over to the care of something else. Make a prayer. There's a prayer right there on page 68. Yeah. Please relieve me of this fear. And then maybe do some service. Get out of yourself and put yourself somewhere else. Especially when it goes against the logic. I have to be looking for a job every second of the day. No, the service may bring a much more proportional way of seeing things. Yes? Yeah. So the fear that is being entertained is that that which is managing or wants to manage your life has an underlying vagueness of that it's not managerial quality. Therefore, it doesn't believe it can actually pull it off. Yet it won't admit that. Yeah? So you listen to its complex fucking thing and somehow take it to be you. This is a recognition it's not you. Yeah? Yeah. So if I had anxiety about something, I don't know. I don't right now, so I can't really say it. Yeah. So, but of course, the action figure and that which is managing it, this idea of self, is concerned because it's failed you miserably many, many times, obviously. Yeah. That's why it's saying, isn't it because self-reliance failed you? That's why you're feeling the way you are. Now, you can disagree with that, but I would investigate it. That's a statement out of our community, the big book. Yeah. Their idea of this anxiety having so much play in your day every day isn't based on the circumstances and conditions. It's based on reliance on self. Yeah. Doesn't mean to poo-hoo the situations and conditions. There's a person I know who's been sober many, many, many years, more than I have. And he used to get worried about money, and I would just lend him money. And that's all that mattered, really. He needed money. Yeah. It wasn't psychological or anything, or he wasn't doing the third step enough. You could have gone into it, but I saw that pointless. I just gave him money and he would pay me back and it would take away that fear. Yeah. That could be an answer. That's what happens. Sometimes you don't know. Yeah. Sometimes the 500 bucks is going to solve the problem. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe you're going to have to lose some pride to ask somebody to lend you the money. Well, that's maybe. That may be a valuable event. Yeah. Who knows? You have no idea what life has in store for you. But I do know from the way it's gone, I have a great assurance of what's setting the direction. Yes, that's all. So the way I read the tea leaves can be suspect. I don't know what's good or bad for me, really, in a lot of ways. And sometimes I get over comfortable and life wants to just sort of get me off my ass and other things come up. Yeah. But before I jump to a conclusion, I have a very familiar sense of all the other conclusions I've been brought to, and I feel pretty assured I'm in good hands. Yes? So the action figure has been soothed and calmed down and lullabied for years. Yes? So its little tantrum and shit like that, it's outgrown all that because I've been taken care of for 37 years with actually no expertise in that ability. Yeah. So I have a strong feeling. I remember when I came in, somebody would be there, and for 20 minutes they'd be talking about how fucked they were. Yeah, and they had a court date, they had no money, and this and that and this. And then the person who had there standing there next to me that had more time would, after this lady did this whole thing, he'd go to a meeting. Now, to the lady's logic, which was being relied upon, that had produced all these fucking crazy effects, that made no sense. I got to get a job. I got to get that. But it made a lot of sense if you've lived a life of recovery. Yeah. It then made no sense if you thought you had to do this, but go to a meeting? That's the last freaking thing I should be doing. I should be pounding. No, go to a meeting. And I have great confidence in that view. Yeah. Yeah. So you may not get a job because it may not be the best one to get right now. Who knows? Yeah. 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 So this is how you face life successfully. You face life. And then you realize you'll have incredible demonstrations that you can and will face life successfully because you will have done that. Yeah. This is this is living in recovery. Yeah. My idea of life was never going to be successful, so I didn't face it really. That wasn't a working strategy. It didn't have a long lifetime. It was, or, I remember I had so much shit going on. What I would do is just make new shit. So I didn't have to look at the old shit. And then I got sober, and in 3 months of sobriety, I hadn't made any new shit. So I started looking at the old shit for the first time in my fucking life with the help of a sponsor and stuff. It was awesome because my strategy was keep it making shit. So I would never have to look at the old shit. I had new shit every day. Yeah, suddenly 3 to 6 months, I hadn't produced that much new shit. Oh, okay. The real strategy was producing new shit, not to see the old shit. Wow. I had no idea that was happening. I thought life was fucking with me. Yeah. This stuff, a lot gets revealed, bro. Yeah. Just to admit that you're scared that you may not get the job, but you're really not scared of that. You're scared that you're not going to be taken care of. Yeah, just admit it, throw it up there, and just throw up your hands. Hey, I'm outmatched. There you go. Thousands of us have been at the same situation you are, Drew. Thousands, millions. Yeah. And here we still are. A lot of shit we think's going to kill us doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. You may run into somebody. You have no idea. My car breaks down, and then I have a beautiful vignette with someone. I'll tell you this story if you don't mind. For it's not directly connected to this, but it's the spirit, the grace, and the coincidental chain reactions that you notice in recovery. Yeah. So I was in India and I was at Sai Baba, a famous spiritual teacher's place. There was 10,000 people there, at least 10 to 20,000. Had a big outdoor, indoor amphitheater, and every day he would show up 7:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the afternoon, and most of the people would come, and everyone would take their shoes off and go into this place. So the shoes were a huge amount of ring around this place. This one day I'm there, and I'm sitting on the back wall, and I'm sitting next to an Indian guy, and we're talking not that much and stuff. And then I'd been there a month. I hadn't been gone to an AA meeting or anything. I'd been in India for a while, talking to him, and then the thing was over, and we got up, and I didn't see him, and we're walking around, and I find my shoes, and his shoes were right next to my shoes. That's pretty interesting. And then he arrives when I'm leaving. Hey, what the hell? And I said, what are you doing here? He says, oh, I was just at an AA convention in Bombay. And me and a few guys came here to see Sai Baba. I said, great, I'm fucking great. I'm in recovery. I haven't been to a meeting in a month. So then we got together and hung out. Yeah. That tells me something. Shit like that. Maybe I'm reading into it. I love it if I'm reading into it. But that told me something. Yeah. That's like a really like, a little like whistle, an anonymous little tapping on the shoulder. Yes. You're thinking you're out of the reach of recovery. Here you go. Yeah. So, yeah. If you're occupied with you, get occupied by service. Yeah. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Paul.
all right, brother. Yeah. If it isn't a job, it'll be something else. You have to realize it. It says it's a job and it has evidence that that's sort of all right. But if that gets dealt with, it'll jump onto another horse to ride. Yeah. You've got to realize it's it's not here to bring you peace. It's chaotic. Yes. The head is agitated. Have you ever been with someone who's agitated? They like to agitate you, right? They can't help it. They're agitated. If you're hanging out with them, you get agitated. Their energy. Well, this is the head's energy completely. It's agitated. If it ain't this, it's going to be that. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
No other hands at the moment, Paul. There was someone, but I think she left. Her name's Sherry.
Oh, well, let's go then. Yeah, I have to do some stuff today. All right. I'll see you. We'll be back here at 4:30 Pacific time. Yeah. Drew, if I suggest, read A Vision for Us, where it talks about this power is going to constantly reveal to us more stuff. Yeah. Recovery is an activity. It's constantly going on. Yeah. There's more and more that's learned, and a lot of it's learned the easy way. It just comes up your ass, so to speak, when you're sitting at a Zoom or something. Yeah. But stuff, you've opened yourself up for revelation, literally, by doing the third step. And so it will. Yeah. And so you'll remember this and you'll see the anxiety of the head is that it's not managerial quality. So that's why. And the idea of getting the job is just bringing out its tendencies it likes to hide. Yeah. Yeah. So there's another station playing. You could follow it much better. Yeah. You just lose interest in self. You lose interest in that head that's causing all the anxiety. And maybe that which you rely on won't cause anxiety. It will cause an ease and comfort while you're waiting if you're going to get a job or not. I had an example when I was young in AA. Back then, if an AIDS test took 3 weeks to find out if you had AIDS. So when I got sober, I felt responsible that I'm not going to go out with anyone unless I know I had AIDS or not. This is 1988. So I went and got the test. Now I had 3 weeks uh, before I'd find out. And you would think the head would have a field day, but it was amazing how little it affected my day-to-day life until I heard 3 weeks later that I was freed of it. Yeah. I wasn't sitting around really that much. I was engaged in recovery and going to meetings and putting up chairs and stuff. And it was amazing how lighter I traveled through those 3 weeks of waiting for the info when the head was just thinking it was like a huge fucking happy meal it could just eat on every day. Yeah. It was really surprising. It blew my mind. I just, it was up in the air. It wasn't my decision if I had it or not. Yeah. And it looked like I had plenty of evidence that I was a prime suspect to have it because I shot a lot of dope and shit. And yet it didn't affect. I kept my commitments in AA, went to meetings, did this, did that. And then I got the news and it was good. Yeah. I was going to get the news sooner or either way, but I got the news and it was good. But yeah, yeah. This isn't this is a life of demonstration. You demonstrate your fealty to the higher power. Yeah. You confront shit you would avoid like crazy. You would you would show up and make amends where you would have moved out of state not to see that person in previously. Yeah. You just get some balls basically and you show up and yeah, here you go. And there's tons of stuff that's outside your purview. Yeah. And basically you suspend and you're just in a period of being suspended. It can be awesome in that period. You learn what the pause really is, Pause. Yeah. That you really don't have any assurances in this life, ever, really. Do you? You think so. You try to convince yourself, but things can disappear in a flash of an eye. So you start living like with gratitude in an uncertainty that scares the hell out of the head. It just does, yeah. The head just wants to know, even if it's wrong, it rather know, no matter what. This is really about a lot of not knowing. You know, every time I wake up in the morning, it's a you know, the condition of my knees can be, they're not under my supervision. Yes. I just wake up and I have to look around to see if it's a go or not. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm not the captain of the boat. Yeah. Yeah. It's a trip. And I've learned to really, I can live free in that situation. And then you deal with it when it changes. I don't try to deal with it when it's, yeah, just I don't know. I don't need to know what I should do. I'll know what I should do when it happens. Yeah. I don't need to know what I should do before. I know what I need to do when it happens. Yeah. And I feel a great sureness about that. Yeah. But I'm not going to go over it when it's not happening. Yeah. So, yeah. I can feel something now. I don't know. I could be getting ill or not. It's not up to me, literally. Just gonna watch how the cards play. What am I gonna do? Take tons of fucking pills? No. Just yeah. We're in good hands. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I'm gonna say goodbye, everyone. Kerry, as always, nice to see you. Stephen R. Yes. Annette, thank you, honey. Did great job. Vlad in Portugal. Brian C. That's all you need to do, brother. Brian C. It's not in order. It's an observation. Kathleen, as always. Catherine Fox, nice to see you there. Matthew, Dave W. Yeah, Dave W. goes to the same hairstylist I go to. Very good. You're looking good, Dave. Michael Stacy, yeah, my retired FBI investigator. He's got a gun strap there. You don't see his, yeah. Diona Fuzon, nice to see you, Diona. Joseph C, as always, nice to see you, Joseph. And everyone who supports this endeavor, I thank you very much. Roman Mueller, Tom, nice to see you, Tom. Drew, John in Florida. Uh, can't go to the other page. Hey, everyone, thank you. Hopefully, I'll see you later and enjoy yourselves today.